Welcome to October. It's spooky season and it's NJCAA All Access. I'm Zach McKinstry.
I'm Alexa Wesselman, and you can definitely tell it's October because there were a couple of scares in the last week, not only for football, but across other sports.
And we'll show you all of that with our junior college scoreboard, starting with a thriller with East Mississippi and Mississippi Gulf Coast. It was a highly anticipated matchup between the number 4 team and number 6 team in the country down on the Mississippi. Former EMCC quarterback Eli Anderson returned to Sullivan Wyndham Field for the first time since transferring, and he put on a show, amassing 6 touchdowns and 295 total yards. He helped his electric offense set a school record with 196 total points through 4 games for Mississippi Gulf Coast. Defensively, the Regulators shut down the usually lethal EMCC air attack, picking off the Lions 3 times and holding Ty Keys to just 38% passing. For EMCC, that's back-to-back years with 2 losses in September. And for Mississippi Gulf Coast, they are out to a 4-0 start for the first time since 2020 in the blowout win 42-17. Every other favorite took care of business on Thursday, including number 11 Jones and number 12 Northwest Mississippi. And Hines beat Pearl River on a walk-off field goal in overtime. Moving to Saturday, some big-time close calls, starting with number 7 Tyler in a survival against winless Northeastern Oklahoma. This game wasn't just a scare for the Apaches, it was a full-on terror as the Tribe defense bullied Tyler to the tune of 4 takeaways while holding the NJCAA passing leader Jaden Pete to 15 passing yards in the first half. That performance set up the offense to win it multiple times in regulation, but a fourth quarter field goal off the upright and a 3-and-out the next possession kept it a 7-point game, and a Tyler touchdown forced overtime. This is where things got crazy. After a Tyler field goal gave the Apaches their first and only lead, Northeastern Oklahoma again had the chance to pull off the upset. A game-winning passing touchdown by Bryce Bodkin was called back for an illegal man downfield, and the following play was a game-sealing interception by Sam Fongang and a massive sigh of relief for the Apaches, who took it 16-13. Hutch and the Blue Dragons traveled into a hostile Butler environment. We talked about it on the show last week, and they used a quick start to cruise past the Grizzlies. And number 15 Dodge City continues to impress as they rout Garden City at home. Plenty of great games last weekend, but the best ranked versus ranked matchup on Saturday was in the Peach State. Number 5 Snow squeaked by Georgia Military in overtime. Chip Cooper and Jamarian Walker gave the Bulldogs a chance, raking up 271 combined rushing yards and a pair of scores to overcome a 13-point fourth quarter deficit. But a missed extra point with 4 minutes left couldn't give GMC the lead, and it would send it to overtime. The Bulldogs nailed a 27-yard field goal to take the lead, but Spencer Lambert would put the upset bid to bed as his 3rd rushing touchdown added to his 172 all-purpose yards and iced it on the road 33-30 in favor of Snow. Number 2 Iowa Western overcame a tough matchup with Indy, and number 8 Kilgore snagged a win from Cisco to bounce back after their loss last week to close out the Division I games. At the Division III level, all the ranked D3 teams continue to perform, including number 5 Lewisburg, who dominated Central International College 43-7. Outside of football, other fall sports had some important games as a top 20 battle in D1 men's soccer between Indian Hills and Lincoln Trail ended in a scoreless draw. Number 4 Daytona State staved off the number 11 Monroe Mustangs 1-0. And in volleyball, Division I number 11 Trinity Valley swept number 9 Blinn, and in D2, number 4 Heartland was upset by the number 14 Madison College Wolfpack. Hoping for more games like those this weekend, let's take a little preview with Alexa to see what's coming up.
Well, Zach just talked about some of the biggest games from the previous week, but let's get into some of the biggest games coming up. Let's start with number 2 Iowa Western and number 5 Snow. This is a game that could have playoff implications, so both teams need to get a win, which unfortunately only one of them can. But this matchup has a little bit of history to it. 4 of the last 6 games between the Reavers and Badgers have been decided by just 7 points combined. Iowa Western's offense showed some issues against Independence last week, which is something Snow could take advantage of. And Snow is coming off a very tight victory over Georgia Military College, making them have 4 straight wins. And don't forget, last year, Iowa Western beat Snow 26-0 and went on to win the national championship. So Snow is definitely looking for revenge here and a playoff spot. Moving on to number 11 Dodge City versus number 1 Hutchinson. Dodge City is continuing to move up the rankings this season, and this is the highest that they've been ranked since October of 2016. So a big win for them already, but it's going to be a fight. They've got to play the number 1 ranked team in the country, and that could be a giant win for their season if they can pull it off. Hutchinson leads the rankings for the 6th straight week, which is rightfully deserved. They beat Butler last week 43-16. Running back Tyrell Reed Jr. is tied for first in the nation for touchdowns, and defensive lineman Daniel Brown also leads the nation in sacks. Moving on to men's soccer, we've got number 1 Monroe versus number 7 Eastern Florida State. The Monroe Mustangs earned their 6th shutout of the season over the weekend and just continued their dominance over opponents. But the Titans of Eastern Florida State have also been putting in the work to earn victories. They've continued to move up the rankings this season, so this could be a very evenly matched game. Moving into women's soccer, we've got a number 1 ranked team in Holmes facing number 3 Northwest Mississippi. This game obviously could have big implications as well, as both of these are ranked in the top 5. Holmes is still undefeated and playing unbelievable soccer, but so is Northwest Mississippi. They've only allowed 1 opponent to score 1 point. Otherwise, no one has scored against them. Their game on Tuesday against East Mississippi, the Rangers won 19-0. I don't know. I haven't seen 19 goals in a game, so I don't know if that's a record at their school or anywhere else, but 19 is a big number. Let's look at volleyball now. We've got number 13 College of Southern Idaho versus number 11 Utah State. CSI is coming off a loss to Salt Lake, but before that, they had been on a 13-game win streak that started September 1st. Utah State also has an impressive win streak going right now, 15 games straight, which means they didn't lose in the entire month of September. So that's also a game that you want to pay attention to. And those are the big games coming up in the next week. But now let's go over to Aaron and Zach, who are going to dive into the D1 football storylines a little bit more.
Thanks, Alexa. We're back with Aaron Arnold after a really exciting slate of football last weekend. Let's start with Snow College and the Badgers. Last week, you said you wanted to see a little bit more from them to earn that number 5 spot, and they answered you this weekend with that win over Georgia Military, the number 13 team in the rankings, on the road in overtime, a gritty ball game. Now, obviously, a lot of miscues from Snow. Their coaching staff would have wanted to win that game by more. But what are the advantages of games that go down to the wire early in the season in OT against a ranked team?
Getting an opportunity to play in overtime early in the year, well, anytime is huge, because at some point late in the year, it's highly likely you're going to have to win a game in overtime. So just getting that experience, most of these kids have never gone through that. And so having that on film, having that they've been through, to feel it, to touch it, to know what it feels like to go through that is huge for them as a program. And it's a good win for those guys. But to be fair, GMC is a 500 football team. They're 3-3 right now. And looking at their resume, from what I see, they haven't really beaten any good teams either. And so I don't want to bag on Snow, because I think Snow's a good team. My point is their schedule hasn't given them a chance yet for me to say, yes, they're a playoff team, which isn't really their fault. But the good news for them is they've got an opportunity this weekend to show me that they deserve to be in the playoffs. And for me, they really need to beat Iowa Western. Their schedule's not that tough this year, which, again, not their fault. They can't control that. They can just go play what they play. They need to get to 10-1. They need to beat Iowa Western. If they do that, it's hard to keep them out of the playoffs. If they can somehow squeak one out and get the win versus Iowa Western, I think they're good to go. If not, if Iowa Western beats them, to me, they just don't have that marquee win that says, yeah, this is a playoff team to me. So we'll see what happens this weekend. We're going to find out a lot.
Yeah, it's a great segue. So you get rewarded by beating a ranked team on the road halfway across the country in overtime. and the reward is you have to play Iowa Western at home this weekend, the number 2 team in the country. So between that game and a ranked Dodge City team traveling to number 1 Hutch, which top squad do you think gets a bigger test this weekend?
Oh, I don't know. That's a good question. I think you're probably going to see a closer game with Iowa Western and Snow. I think Iowa Western's better than Snow, but that is a difficult trip for any level of football. I mean, it's an overnight trip. There's a lot involved with getting junior college kids across the country to play that game. So Snow has a major home field advantage. So I think you probably see a very close game. What I've seen from Hutchinson so far, I think I've been pretty consistent about this. They're the best team in the country. I don't know that it's close right now. They're the number 2 scoring offense in the country. They're racking up 44 points a game. They're the number 1 rushing offense in the country. And I've said from the first week, if you want to win at this level or any level, you got to be able to run the football. They're running it for 278 yards a game, which is just a ridiculous stat. They're also the number 2 ranked scoring defense in the country. They're only allowing 7 points per game, and they've done that against ranked opponents. They haven't played a cupcake yet. They haven't played a prep school yet. These are good teams they're doing this to. So to answer your question, I'm high on Dodge City. I love that they're ranked right now. I think Dodge City's got a great administration that's put a great head coach in place, and they're doing all the right things, and they're headed in the right direction. But to me, Dodge City's a year away from being ready for that shot at the title. I don't know if anybody can beat Hutch right now except Hutch. I just don't see Dodge pulling it off this weekend either.
It might be running into a buzzsaw in Hutch. I think their turnover margin is like plus 10 through their 6 games so far, too. So Hutch's defense and offense has just been clicking on all cylinders. And they are one of the 4 teams left in the rankings that are undefeated so far. It is Hutch, Iowa Western, Mississippi Gulf Coast, and Northeast Mississippi is undefeated in that Mississippi League. So what have you seen from the rankings? What did you like about this week's 15?
So last week I said I think it's a 2-horse race. I said you got Hutch and you've got Iowa Western, and then there's a gap. I want to amend that because Gulf Coast is forcing me to amend that. It's definitely at least a 3-horse race right now, and Gulf Coast needs to be in the equation. They have been impressive. I didn't know what to make of their week 1 victory. No, we don't know a whole lot in week 1, but they beat a good Northwest Mississippi team 49-14. I said, let's wait and see what happens. They were beyond impressive this week, and they absolutely dismantled East Mississippi at East Mississippi. They're running the ball for 225 a week. They're the number 1 scoring offense in the country. They're racking up almost 50 a week, which is unheard of. They're only giving up 62 yards on the ground every week. They've been impressive all season. To me, they should certainly be ranked number 3 this week, and I think you could probably make the argument that they can be number 2. I love Iowa Western still, but man, I'm really impressed by Gulf Coast. The other piece of the rankings component that I thought we probably missed the boat on was a 4-0 undefeated team in the Mississippi League with Northeast Mississippi. They're pretty close to the bottom of the 15, and they're behind a 2-loss team in the Jayhawk Conference, which I can tell you right now, if I'm the head coach at Northeast Mississippi, that's going up on my bulletin board. And I'm going to ask my kids, why is it that we're a 4-0 team, we're undefeated in the toughest league in the country, we got a 2-loss team ranked ahead of us. Put your chip on your shoulder. Let's get fired up, and we're going to use that to get motivated to go play next week.
Yeah, that's a team that definitely surprised a lot of people. Both them and Mississippi Gulf Coast wasn't ranked to start the season. They beat that Northwest team in the opener, and all of a sudden they take off, and they are definitely in contention. So a lot of storylines going into this next week. And Aaron, appreciate you being here, giving us your insight, and we will see you next week.
Thanks for having me.
It's always nice to hear Aaron's insights into the D1 football storylines. We're going to take a quick break, but on the other side of that, we've got rankings.
Great seats at a great price. Get them safer, simpler, and smarter with Ticket Smarter. A proud partner to the biggest names in live sports and events, including ESPN events and iHeartRadio. Ticket Smarter has seats for over 125,000 live events and 48 million tickets for sale. All backed with the Ticket Smarter 100% ticket guarantee. Thinking about your next great live event? Think smarter. Think Ticket Smarter. Get your tickets your way, guaranteed, at ticketsmarter.com.
Intensity fuels these champion student athletes to greatness. Zurich Insurance is proud to be the official provider of student athlete insurance for the National Junior College Athletic Association. Throughout the highs, we cheer along to their screams of victory. Throughout the lows, we support them through their tears of defeat. Zurich Insurance, helping student athletes play the sport they love.
Welcome back to NJCAA All Access. We're going to get into the rankings, so we start with D3 football. Nothing has changed. Every team on this rankings board stays put this week. Moving into D1 men's soccer, Iowa Western was ranked 6th. They've dropped to 9th now, and Tyler moved up to 8th. In D2 men's soccer, Iowa Lakes and Pima swapped places. They are now 4th and 3rd respectively. But look at number 7th ranked Schoolcraft. They were ranked 11th last week. That's a great move up the rankings board for them. In D3 men's soccer, we've got a new name on the board. Camden County entering the conversation at 10th, which means Raritan Valley, ranked 7th last week, has fallen off the rankings. D1 women's soccer, Salt Lake and Eastern Florida State switch 5th and 6th rankings. Salt Lake is now 5th. Hutchinson moves into 10th. They were previously 13th. And last week's 10th ranked team, Kansas City, Kansas, falls to 14th. Moving into D2 women's soccer, the top 5 remains the same. Pearl River slides down from 8th to 12th after a loss to Holmes and Itawamba. D3 women's soccer, a big change here. Number 1 Genesee falls to number 5 after losing to Jefferson, which gives Delta College the top ranking spot now. In D1 volleyball, the top 5 remain the same. Blinn, who was ranked 9th last week, moves down to 12th. D2 volleyball, a top 5 changeup. Number 4 last week, Heartland, now in at number 8. And Kirkwood also has a change. Number 6 previously, they are now 11th. And finally, D3 volleyball, Century College, now ranked 6th after being 4th last week. And DuPage is now 7th, with Dallas College Brookhaven 8th after swapping. And those are the rankings for this week. So now that MLB is officially in postseason, we're going to send it over to Zach, who's got a little bit more on some NJCAA alum who are participating.
The leaves are turning brown, temperatures are cooling off, which can only mean 2 things. 1, the Starbucks Pumpkin Spice Latte is back, and 2, it's time for the MLB postseason. 24 NJCAA alum are participating in this year's postseason with plenty of stars ready to shine. We start with John Means, who was first-team All-Region in his 1 year at Fort Scott, going 6-0 on the mound. And Cedric Mullins hit .417 at Lewisburg in 2014 as they both look to play big postseason roles for the Orioles this year. Marlins reliever Tanner Scott has 24 holds and 12 saves this year and was a great pitcher in his time at Howard. And then some big names on this list. Bryce Harper has been a stud for a long time, dating back to his Southern Nevada days, but he still searches for his first World Series ring. And Craig Kimbrell picked up one of his 417 career saves in the wild card game on Tuesday night. One last commercial break, but back on the other side, we have our junior college gyms with 5 jaw-dropping plays across the NJCAA sports landscape.
The future is threatened by enemies often unseen and unexpected. In the midst of an uncertain and evolving world, the need for Marines to defeat these shifting threats is critical, because the need to ensure stability for our nation has never been greater. When there are battles to win for America's future, there is one constant: Marines.
Welcome back to NJCAA All Access. Plenty of submission for our junior college gyms this week. A reminder to keep sending those in at NJCAA Network on all of our social media. And we start with a submission from a couple weeks ago. It was Monroe College versus Georgia Military in some football. And it's Myson Pollard, the sophomore defensive back and returner, who zigs and zags his way to the end zone 69 yards with the help of some blocking for a punt return TD. Needs to work on the celebration a little bit in the corner of the end zone, just going crazy by the pylon. But he thought it was so nice, he did it twice. 64-yarder the second time around, and Pollard shows off his speed. The kid has 3 return touchdowns in 4 games and has been balling out for the Mustangs special teams. We move to Butler Community College, and it is the English forward Macy Windsor who virtually shoots this one from across the pond. Long-range goal to chip the keeper and help lead the Grizzlies to a 3-0 win at Coffeyville. Moving up north to the Wolverine State, it is Bella Elliott who somehow gets a piece of this cross and sneaks it past the keeper for an Ocelot game winner over Kellogg Community College. What an effort to just get anything on that and boots it into the net for the score. In Mississippi, the Eli Anderson revenge game versus EMCC included this off-balance catch by Aiden Morgan, who fought through contact to reel it in. It was one of 5 passing touchdowns for Eli Anderson and a stellar play for Aiden Morgan to add to the score. We close out with 2 former Navarro stars at the NCAA level. Jack Turner finds True Edwards for the difference-making TD for Louisiana Tech in their win over UTEP. 2 stars shining bright for the NJCAA.
What a great play, and we love to see former NJCAA student athletes doing big things at the next level.
Reminder to keep sending in those submissions at NJCAA Network on Facebook and on Twitter. And that's all we got for you on this week's NJCAA All Access. So be sure to tune in to all those games this weekend, and we will see you a week from today.